Robert Pattinson's debut as the Dark Knight in Matt Reeves' The Batman has completely stunned moviegoers. And that got us thinking, who is the best Batman of all time? So we've made this video ranking all the actors who have played the role on screen since Tim Burton's 1989 mega hit, Batman. Hey guys, it's Simon from It's Gone Viral, and thanks so much for checking out this video. Now before we get started, let's say from the off that we are missing out one of the most iconic performances as Batman in Adam West. But rest assured, we all love his performances as the Caped Crusader. So in this video, we'll only be focusing on Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Will Arnett, and Robert Pattinson and their time in the Batsuit. Right, now all the housekeeping is in order, let's crack on with it. Starting with the worst on-screen Batman, George Clooney. It kind of goes without saying, but George Clooney never really had much of a chance to top this list, seeing as his only portrayal of the character came in Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin. Widely regarded as one of the worst superhero movies of all time, even the classy and charismatic Clooney had no chance to shine in this movie. Batman and Robin is a disaster from start to finish, and maybe Clooney could tell this approach to Batman was always destined to fail. Who knows? What we do know is that Clooney's Bruce Wayne is certainly watchable, but when he dons the Batsuit, it becomes pretty obvious that he just wasn't right for the role, which is a shame. Clooney himself has stated before that he doesn't even like the movie, calling it a disaster, as he apologised for almost destroying the franchise on the Graham Norton show. I mean, Batman literally has a Batman credit card in the movie, so he's not exactly wrong. We're so sorry, George, but someone had to come in last, and sadly, your stint in the Batmobile was, a disaster, as you said. Up next is another actor who only had one solitary turn in the role of Batman, Val Kilmer. Kilmer took on the role as Gotham's Dark Knight in the 1995 movie Batman Forever, taking the lead in an all-star cast featuring Nicole Kidman, Jim Carrey, and Tommy Lee Jones, in what can only be described as a very fun, colourful, and camp Batman movie. Kilmer's first and only outing as Bruce Wayne saw him take over from the hugely popular figure of Michael Keaton, who had excelled in the role in the previous two Batman movies, directed by Tim Burton, which meant that Kilmer was always going to be up against it when bringing his approach to Batman. Despite it being a big hit at the box office, both Kilmer and director Joel Schumacher decided it was time for a new Batman immediately after the release, with Kilmer apparently interested in pursuing other roles and Schumacher calling him difficult to work with, labelling him childish and impossible, and even psychotic. Why didn't he bring any of that psychotic energy to the role? You're playing a superhero with a troubled past. Dig a little deeper, mate. Batfleck. As we mentioned in one of our recent videos, Ben Affleck never really stood a chance as Batman, did he? Despite taking on the role in no less than 4 movies, he really must have been wondering what it would take to actually appear in a good Batman movie. And yes, we're even including Zack Snyder's Justice League here. Sorry, Snyder Cut fans. The best thing we can say about Affleck's time in the role is that he definitely needed better material, because he's actually a pretty good Batman, and certainly a very different Batman to any we'd seen before. But we think it's safe to say that he just so happened to be the unlucky actor who appeared in some of the worst and some of the most boring on-screen adaptations there's ever been. Who knows, if DC had spent their time concentrating on the characters and not constantly trying to match up to Marvel's Avengers, Affleck's Batman could have been considered one of the greats, but sadly, he just never had the opportunity. Taking a very different approach to the role in the animated LEGO movie franchise and the LEGO Batman movie is the one and only Will Arnett. This gruff-sounding, hilarious take on Bruce Wayne and Batman has delighted audiences all around the world, and many people actually believe that Arnett's time as Batman could be considered as one of the best portrayals of the Dark Knight ever. We wouldn't go that far, but there's no denying that Arnett's LEGO Batman is always a joy to watch, especially in his scenes with Michael Cera's Robin. And it really says something that even LEGO Batman had better material than Ben Affleck did during his time in the role. Is Will Arnett's performance as Batman the best animated version of the role? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The man who brought Bruce Wayne back to the big screen after a 20-year plus hiatus, and provided us with one of the most iconic takes of the role is up next, the legendary Michael Keaton. It's hard to imagine now, but when it was announced that Tim Burton had chosen Michael Keaton to take on the role of Batman, Warner Brothers received over 50,000 letters of complaints about him taking on Bruce Wayne. Keaton at the time was considered as more of a comedic actor, after starring in a string of successful comedies, but after teaming up with Tim Burton in Beetlejuice, the pair worked together once again on the 1989 smash hit Batman, and the rest, as they say, is history. Keaton won over plenty of fans and even received widespread critical acclaim for his take on Bruce Wayne and Batman. And when you consider he was up against Jack Nicholson's iconic Joker, that really is saying something. And in the 30 years that have passed since he last entered the Batcave, audiences are buzzing to see him take on the role of Batman again later this year, when The Flash is released in cinemas. To put it bluntly, Keaton is such a good Batman that fans still want to see him back in the role. We love you, Michael Keaton. We don't blame you if you're a little surprised to see Robert Pattinson this high up on our list. But if you've already seen The Batman, then you'll know that his take on the character is dark, grungy, and honestly, unlike any portrayal we've seen before. Matt Reeves and Pattinson's take on Batman is rightly gaining acclaim from pretty much everyone, and his performance in his debut as the Dark Knight is just exceptional. In The Batman, we see a very different take on the role of Bruce Wayne, and Batman himself, with less of a focus on his origin story and more of a shift towards whether his work as the Caped Crusader is actually helping Gotham. At the start of the movie, he's a savage maniac more than a vigilante guardian, and this approach to the Batman story is why we think this movie is as good as it is. Couple that with Pattinson's obsessed and broken Bruce Wayne and the insane brutality when it comes to the action scenes, and you have the recipe for one hell of a Batman and Batman movie. For his first outing in the Batsuit, we think Robert Pattinson absolutely kills it. And so, in at number 1, and making him, in our opinion, the best Batman of all time, is Christian Bale. Despite a 7-year stint in the Batsuit from 2005 to 2012, Bale only starred in 3 Batman movies. But they were, of course, part of the Dark Knight trilogy, directed by Christopher Nolan. The Dark Knight trilogy redefined what superhero movies could be, taking place in a much more realistic world with terrifying and realistic villains, whilst also continually questioning Bruce Wayne's conscience. Bale's Bruce Wayne goes through a very interesting character arc throughout the trilogy. We see him take on his own mysterious origin story in Batman Begins, enjoying the ultimate bachelor life in The Dark Knight, and playing a heartbroken recluse in The Dark Knight Rises, before returning as Gotham's hero when the city needs him most. Not only is Bale's take on Bruce Wayne very layered and different in each outing, but his performance as Batman was, at the time, game-changing. It's important to remember that before Batman Begins, the last time we saw the Caped Crusader was George Clooney in Batman and Robin. You know, the one with the nipples and back credit card. We're still not over it, clearly. And so, as you can imagine, a clear change in direction for Batman was needed, and that's exactly what we got. Bale's Batman was kitted out with state-of-the-art but realistic tech, operating from a classy Wayne Manor and Batcave, and you could just tell it was the perfect environment for this new take on Batman. Bale's physicality in the role was eye-opening, and arguably the first time we'd seen on screen a Batman befitting of a vigilante, determined to clean up the streets of Gotham. Bale and Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy has gone on to be the yardstick that all Batman movies are compared to, and that is why we've ranked him at number 1 on our list as the greatest Batman of all time. But what did you think of our list, and who has been your favourite Batman so far? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for checking out this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out our interview with Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz for The Batman. Thanks for watching, it's gone viral.